Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Laura Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good evening. It is 9:30 p.m. here in Calgary, Alberta, Saturday night, January the 14th. I'm glad to be here. This is Worldwide Epidemic of Child Abuse and Human Rights Abuses, and this is a show that I like to do that I haven't been doing lately. I've been missing my show on Saturdays, and I think it's just the timing. The time I keep scheduling it for is just not working for me, and I keep missing the show, so I thought I'd just schedule this one for tonight because I seem to, right around 9:30, 10:30, it's a good time for me to do these shows. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I found a couple of articles that that I really saved. I saved them because I wanted to be able to do this show and bring out this information to people and talk about it. And this is just more, issues of human rights abuses, really, whether it's children or adults, and looking at it really around the world instead of looking at it just in North America, which I mostly focus on and concentrate on. But I'm always looking to see what's going on, especially in the area of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Afghanistan really is where I focus my attention, and that's because I volunteer with two organizations, Canadian organizations, not-for-profits, that do work in Afghanistan and elsewhere around the world as well. And so I actually have information that just kind of pops into my inbox all the time, and I just save it for if I feel like it's something that just really should be talked about. I'll just bring it up on this show, especially this show. But this stuff bothers me. It just sits right in the forefront of my thinking all the time. That this world, this earth that we live on, is for some people it's a great place. For other people it's not such a great place. And if you happen to be one of those people where you're living where it's not such a great place, well, too bad for you. And I live in North America. I'm very much aware that life is different here than it is elsewhere. And because I look at the issues going on around the world, just stay in my own little world and think about all the North American values and stuff, which is mainly, let's go shopping, let's go watch a movie, let's do this, let's do that. That's good for some people. I mean, that's great, whatever you want to do. For me, I just know that there's a whole, world out there full of people that really I consider that we're all one big family here, and we're just destroying ourselves, and we're just destroying other people. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so I like talking about this stuff because it shouldn't be happening. Like, none of it should be happening. And I found this one article from IRIN News, IRIN News, Humanitarian News and Analysis. It was actually just popped into my inbox on the 11th. And I was so disturbed by it. I just thought, well, okay, I'm going to talk about it. So my shows, you have to listen at your own discretion because all of my shows deal with abuse, and abuse is a very sensitive subject. So you have to know what's good for you to listen to. If you think the topics of abuse or anything like that, violence or anything like that might bother you, then you need to turn the show off. Make a good choice for yourself. Only you will know what's good for you to listen to, so make that choice for yourself. And if you think you might be triggered or bothered by this type of information, then don't listen to it. And young people 18 and under, I just ask that you have permission to listen to my shows because I'm talking about a lot of adult content and adult issues. And even though I'm talking about stopping child abuse, I'm talking about some very sensitive material. So if you're 18 and under, have an adult listen to the show with you who can help you make a decision whether or not you should be listening and it's age appropriate, right? Because none of my shows are for younger children, right? All geared for adult and mature audiences. So, do the right thing. And keep yourself safe when you're online. If you're a young person, 18 and under, you got to realize, like, there's all kinds of very sick and twisted people out there who are trying to get a hold of kids online. And if you want more information on that, there's lots of websites out there. They talk about internet safety, online safety for children, for youth, for families. And the FBI.gov has a good bunch of information on that website. I actually like that website, and they've got some awesome information about the issues about internet safety for children and how to keep yourself safe online, and that's FBI.gov. And they've got some really good, interesting facts about, just how many child sexual predators are online at any given time in chat rooms and different things like that, trying to get a hold of children. So make sure you protect yourself and keep yourself safe, right? So we'll get right into this article. This is from IRIN News from January the 11th. Pakistan mutilated for venturing outdoors. And it says in Bajar Agency, one of 7 tribal areas in northwestern Pakistan, very few girls go to school due to threats by the Taliban. I'm just reading from this article here. They said, when I hired a tutor so my 2 older daughters could keep up their learning at home, I began receiving threats, explained Salim John from Carr, the agency's main town. He's in a quandary about whether to leave. He says the militants are still here despite the military's claims of victory in 2010. He said, and according to the Autonomous Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, HRCP, many girls in 2009-2010 were forced to join seminaries due to fear of the Taliban. He said not a single girl got admission to ninth class in Bajar, Kohat, and Laki Marwat during 2009-2010 due to Taliban threats. And no girls went to college in Bajar, and Laki Marwat or Peshawar either, said the HRCP in a September report. Opposition by the Taliban to girls' education, propaganda against it through illegal FM radio channels, threats and a declaring of girls' education a vulgarity and un-Islamic were preventing parents from sending their daughters to school, it added. And they said, Zuleika Bibi told Iran from her village near the town of Wana that she had heard of women being mutilated by militants for offenses such as venturing outdoors without a male escort. Now, we know, this is something that happens all the time, and it can happen any given time in, Afghanistan and in many parts of the Arab world, and also in places like Afghanistan and Pakistan and whatnot, where women can't go outdoors without a male escort, and it has to usually almost always be a family member and has to be a male. So whether it's a son or, someone in the family has to escort them wherever they're going, and they're mostly supposed to be completely covered when they go out. And some of them don't have a male escort, and they need to get to the hospital, for maybe they're delivering a baby, they're going into labor, or they may have injured themselves at home and they can't get to the doctor because they can't go because they don't have an escort. So sometimes they'll go anyway, and they take the risk of being stoned to death or have their heads chopped off or whatever. Absolutely horrible, horrific, and it's just so, barbaric and so backwards. It's like, hello, 2012, wake up and smell the coffee. That's living in the old days, back when people were stupid and didn't know any better. I don't care if they're religion or not. I really don't. I don't see why the world should put up with it just because it's their religion. Say, wow, how much right do we have to interfere in their traditions? Well, when you start chopping people's body parts off for no reason, just for going outside, it seems that we have a problem here. These are girls. When they talk about women in these countries, most of the time, women don't live very long over there. I mean, if you live to be 40, you're like ancient. And most of the time, these women they're talking about are just young girls, whether they're 8 years old, married off at 8, 9, 10 years old. Some of them maybe they're 12 or 13 years old. Sometimes they're 20. We're talking young, really young women or girls. And, this is just ridiculous. I'm sorry, I don't care if it's their religion or not. I really don't care. And I don't care if it's their tradition. I really don't. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that this is a human rights violation. This is not about, honor and tradition and their Quran or whatever. I'm not putting their Quran down, whatever. I'm just saying, it doesn't matter to me what their excuse is. There's no excuse for this kind of garbage. And I don't care if it's just women they're picking on. There's no excuse for this kind of garbage. You know what I mean? I'm just all about human rights. That's all there is to it. And so they said, you who live outside the tribal areas cannot imagine what fear we women live in, she said. Here in South Waziristan, there have been cases of Taliban bursting into homes to check on women's morality. My teenage cousin had her hair chopped off because her head was not properly covered just a few months back. I mean, that's so, to me, that's like, totalitarianism, dictatorship type stuff, where, who has the right to burst into somebody's home and check to see if your morality is okay, and if your head's uncovered, then you get your hair chopped off or get killed or whatever. This is, I'm sorry, it's not right. It's never going to be right. And these people, they need to wake up and come into the 20th century, the 21st century, whatever. They need to come up to where we're at. That's why I think the world has such a problem with this. I mean, if this was going on, it is kind of probably going on in some of the other countries that have the same tradition of the Taliban. But the thing is many countries that are third world countries don't do this stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, some do. There's problems in India, lots of problems in India with abuses towards human rights abuses towards anybody in India. It all goes there. Doesn't matter who you are. But this is, you know, violence against women mainly in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Arab countries. And I'll finish reading this, and you'll see what I want to talk about here. This just makes me so incredibly angry, and it's so ridiculous that I don't know why the world is putting up with this. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we say, well, we've already got people and troops over there trying to take care of this situation. Well, I mean, I think we should just flock in and just take it over, you know what I mean, completely, and wait for about 2 or 3 generations till all the old idiots die off, and then build up a new, help them build their people back up to where they were before the Taliban. They actually were a decent society before that, and actually had great times and had businesses and were normal people, you know what I mean? But when the Taliban took over, that all changed, right? So this is not the way they used to live, except for they don't know it because nobody lives past 40, 50 years old. So their history's been wiped out. They have no idea that it was different before because there's nobody living that's able to tell them that their own history. There's nobody. I was talking about this like last year. I mean, if you go back and listen to one of my 900 shows, I mean, I've almost done about 900 shows. I was actually talking about this last summer, you know what I mean, maybe even the summer before, that their history's been wiped out, so they don't realize that it was not always like that. They think that it's been this way for generations and generations. It really hasn't. It's been since the 1980s. But there's nobody living, so, you know, what are you going to do? I mean, there's hardly anybody there. You see, there may be a few old men around in some of these villages, but mostly they said what is the average age for lifespan there is pretty low. For men, I think it's 50, and for women, I think it's even lower than that, 42 or some crazy thing like that. It's got the lowest lifespan as far as human life goes on the planet, right? So if you don't live very long over there, if you're born there and you live there, right? And so their history's been wiped out. They have no idea. They just think it's the way it is. So living in terror, says Mariam Bibi, chief executive of the Peshawar-based NGO Quendo Corps Sisters Home, told IRIN, despite the official stance that the Taliban have been defeated, they remain present in remote areas. Women live in terror and have told me their stories of exploitation, harassment, or other forms of terrible violence by militants. As she said, accounts contained in a recent study by her organization, which spoke of militants slicing off the breasts of a mother feeding her baby inside her home, had been verified by field workers. Now listen to that. Someone sliced off a woman's breast because this mother was breastfeeding. Why do they hate women so much? Why do they, it's just a form of control. They just want to terrorize. How do you terrorize a society? Pick on a group and terrorize, you know what I mean? So this is just absolutely pathetic, you know what I mean? Like, do they not realize that they come into the world by a woman? It takes a woman's womb to carry the child. They came in by a woman. They have no idea, no respect for the fact that these women, if they kill all the women off, what are they going to do for raising offspring? They won't have any. Because a woman is necessary. So is the man. It takes both. Right? And no, they're messed up in their thoughts, and nowhere in the Quran does it say anything about treating women badly. It's the Taliban who's twisted and perverted the whole thing. And what's sad is that most of those people are so ignorant that they don't realize that it's just not in the Quran. You know what I mean? They just think that is in the Quran, and most of them don't get the fact that the Quran is completely nonviolent. You know what I mean? It's like, doesn't talk about that stuff. But the Taliban just twists it, turns it around to make for their own purposes, so they can terrorize and continue to terrorize these people, and these women especially. And it's so disturbing. It just says, this woman, Mariam Bibi, says, I have met displaced women who were asked by security staff at camps for sexual favors in exchange for food. She told IRIN, she said, women also lived in terror in settled areas with Taliban domination, such as Tank District in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. The plight of these women is terrible. It will change only if male mindsets can be altered, she said. Well, it's going to have to, all those people are going to have to die. Like those older generations of people, the Taliban and the ones that support them are all going to have to die off. And then what they're going to have to do is get a hold of the young people the boys especially, because they're gonna be the ones that need to make these changes to allow women to be part of society again, because they were a functioning part of society before the Taliban. They were allowed to go on the street. They didn't wear black burqas over their head, over their body. They wandered down the street in regular clothes, pants and skirts, and you can see photos when you go and actually check this stuff out. There's pictures of how their society was before the Taliban. It was not Islamic. As a matter of fact, it wasn't Islamic at all. They were a Western culture in Afghanistan. They're very much a Western civilization, like Turkey and different places like that. Girls went to school, they rode their bikes, women owned businesses and ran businesses. They were just average people before the Islamic terrorists got a hold of them. And now look at them, running around in these black garbs, freaking out, and none of them making any sense. You know what I mean? And it's all because the country was so brought down to a level of survival instinct. So they don't think of anything except for how to survive through the day and also how to survive through tomorrow and the next day. They can't think of anything else, you know what I mean, because they don't even know where the next food's coming from, half of them. I mean, now they've kind of got it situated, but in some of these outer areas, like different places in Afghanistan and remote areas, those people have nothing. You know, they literally have nothing, and except for opium. And, it's a real problem. Most of them are on drugs and opium, opiates and stuff. And it's like, you got a country that's just so screwed up. You know what I mean? Like, and these are people like you and me. You know what I mean? Like, they hurt, and when they hurt, they hurt, you know. When they need to go to the hospital, they need to go to the hospital. You know, when they're having health issues and whatnot, I mean, there's nothing there for them. There's absolutely nothing there. When they can't educate their girls because Islamic terrorists won't allow them to, and they only get to a certain grade level if they're lucky. Or they have to sneak to school, which I personally know people that are doing that. I know one person, actually, that sneaks to go to school in Afghanistan. And, it's absolutely horrific, you know what I mean, that they don't have the freedom to learn that we have over here, and they still want to. And they still want to be, it's not like they want to be like the Western world. They want to keep their culture, but they still want to be like us in many ways, as far as, let's educate our children, let's have a decent life, like that's what they want. And sadly enough, it's going to be a long time before that happens, because they're going to have to get like she said, change the mindset, but she says of men, but actually change the mindset of everybody, because a lot of the mother-in-laws actually are responsible for a lot of the violence towards women, because the mother-in-laws are warped, and they think that if they don't go along with what Taliban and the Islamic terrorists are saying, then they'll be looked at as being the ones who are wrong. So in order to gain favor, they turn against their daughter-in-laws and have their daughter-in-laws burned to death or whatever, or tortured or killed or whatever, right? It's just a sickness. It's a disease that took over the country. It's a disease of the mind. It's a social disease. It's very much it's a disease that impacted every aspect of their life. And I mean, I can't think of a country that is that screwed up. You know what I mean? Through just a few years of being, they used to be just normal and having a pretty decent life, to within about 40 years of just being annihilated and changed to the point where they don't even know what they used to be. They couldn't even tell you. It's funny that I know what they used to be and other people know what they used to be, but they don't. They don't remember. They don't have a clue. They don't know because they don't have any history. It's all been wiped out. And so they're trying to change that. But this is just the kind of stuff that just, I don't know. What's the answer? We already have people dying over there, and they know that, and they appreciate it. I volunteer with the Canadian Women for Women Afghanistan, CW4W Afghanistan. I also volunteer with another group called the Canadian International Learning Foundation. That's CILF. That's when you want to get to it by the internet, just www.canilf. CANILF. It's a Canadian International Learning Foundation. They work over in Afghanistan, but they also support a lot of schools and whatnot around the world, not just Afghanistan, different places, and you can check their website out. But, just in being involved with those groups, like I've gotten an opportunity to hear from and talk to, and actually talk to people in those countries who are living there now. And, they so want the world to know how much they appreciate what the world has done to try to help them. And they literally cry about it. They know that people's lives are lost. People's sons and daughters are dying to try to win their freedom. When their own country can't seem to pull it together because it's all based on greed and fear and power struggles. You know what I mean? It's like, and also greed has a lot to do with it. And also, you know, it's like they're so used to bribing and living, you know, manipulating type lifestyles that they don't even know what truth and reality is, those people that are trying to run that country. You know what I mean? It's all based on kind of garbage, you know what I mean? And they don't, maybe some of them, you know, do care about their citizens, and I know they do, but they're trapped because they know that they'll be shot, they'll be killed, they'll be dragged down the street and killed, you know, if they try to change it so that they're helping their people, because the Taliban doesn't want that. Like, the Taliban wants them to destroy their people because that's what they want to do. So they're not, the Taliban's not even their people. The Taliban are a bunch of mountain men from Pakistan who came down into Afghanistan to raise, based on because of the war with Russia, they were given arms by the United States to kick Russia out. But then the Taliban took advantage of that, which the Taliban is really just Al-Qaeda, which is just led by bin Laden, you know, who wasn't even part of that world. He's from Saudi Arabia. You know, and so it's all about money, it's all about power, it's all about some craziness. Like, so it's really probably all about that opium. You know what I mean? Like, why else would they be interested in trying to control Afghanistan? There's nothing there. But the only thing that's there is opium, right? And so what? Is it the opium? Are they trying to is it the opium that they want so they can fund their missiles and guns and whatnot, so they can launch their attacks around the world? I mean, I don't know. But in the meantime, they're totally have ruined that country and trashed it, and trashed the people, not just the country. They trashed the people, and they trashed the people's minds, because now those people have no idea what's going on except for the fact they think they've always been wearing burqas, they've always been Islamic, and that's what they've always been. And they don't realize that 40 years ago they were more Western than anything else. And there was a whole lot of different people there, not just Islam people. There were all kinds of people there, probably Hindus and probably Christians, and, you know, who knows, all kinds of people there. And so it got completely screwed within a very short period of time. And so who's paying the price for it? The women and the girls, mainly, because the boys are being looked after, because the boys are being you know, catered to within the system, right? So boys literally have the right to abuse their own mothers. Boys have the right to kill their own sisters if they want. Boys have the rights, right? So they can do whatever they want. So the women are afraid of their sons because they know, you know, that they have to go with every wish that they desire, or they'll get the Taliban to kill them, or they'll kill them themselves, or they'll get their dad to do it, or their mother-in-law, right? So women live in this perpetual state of fear that's being put down completely down underneath of somebody's thumb. They're treated worse than slaves, because to them they're not worth anything. Slavery is always kind of been about, well, you are worth something because they have to buy you. But the thing is these women are not even, they're not even on that level. They're actually worth nothing to those people. How can this happen? It's 2012. It's like, hello, wake up and smell the coffee. How do these people sleep at night? What's the matter with them? What's the matter with their brains? I'd like for somebody to do a study on their brains and on their, taking a whole cross-section of society in Pakistan and Afghanistan, do a study on their brains, as well as like Syria and other places like that, and find out what is really wrong with those people. Are they purely just evil? Or is there something wrong with them, that they're missing something, they're lacking something? I don't know. But there's no compassion and there's no resemblance of humanity with most of those people. And every once in a while you run into somebody who is so human that shows you that there is hope, you know what I mean? And that's not lost. And I've met, there's some people that are associated with the Canadian International Learning Foundation out of Ottawa, Canada, the state here in Calgary actually provides some of the courses, some of the schooling, and some of the academics for these schools around the world. There's 2 in Afghanistan, I think. And there's one of the guys who's a teacher, which I won't mention his name, but I didn't talk to him personally, but I have written to him by email, and conversed with him by email. But he's a teacher and he goes in hiding. But you want to talk about humanity. This guy lost his whole family because of the war, and he's lost his whole entire family. His mother and his brothers and his whole family gone. He has to go in hiding because he teaches girls, and the school is in hiding, and everything's in hiding, and all the students are in hiding, and nobody really, it's all hidden away. And the thing is like this guy, you want to talk about humanity? He's like a normal guy. He's totally normal. He wants normal things. He thinks that life should just be normal. You know what I mean? What's normal? A good life, a decent life, people caring about each other, people helping each other, helping the young people learn, helping people to grow, helping their own culture to grow. You know what I mean? And he came over and he actually was given an honorary degree by SAIT, and he was here in Calgary. I didn't get to see him, but he had a speech, and you can find it on the Canadian International Learning Foundation's website. If anybody wants more information about this, you can just contact me here on Blog Talk Radio or Facebook or wherever. I can get you more information and where to find the information. But you can see that stuff on the Canadian International Learning Foundation's website, www.canilf. And he's just like this down-to-earth guy, like somebody you'd run into on your own street that's just a decent guy. So there are good people over there, and they are worth something, and they are worth fighting for. They are worth the trouble. Because if we don't put a foot down, just like with the Holocaust, and even the United States didn't even get involved in that until way late, you know what I mean? They should have been involved in that in the very beginning, trying to help the people who were being killed and slaughtered in the Holocaust. But the thing is, at least they finally jumped in at the end. But the thing is people want to gripe and complain, about, why should we have to go over there and do this? It's not our problem. It's not our war. You know what? If it's on the planet, it's our problem. Yes, it is. We are all citizens of one world. There's not a whole bunch of worlds here, people. This is one world. And what's going on over there is directly affecting everything. And it will spread like wildfire because it's a disease of the mind, of the heart, of the will, of the soul. It's a disease called hatred and evil, and every evil, ugly thing you can think of is what that is. Cutting women's breasts off for breastfeeding their baby. I mean, how sick can you possibly be? And as a Christian, I'm supposed to be praying for the person that did that. But I really sit there, and the other part of me says, no, I hope they rot in hell. I really do. And I know that God is going to understand. Me, not them, but me, because my heart's right with God, but those people's aren't, obviously. And there's a whole messed up world of people that need to be held accountable for what they're doing, for these atrocities. And if we don't stand up and make these people be accountable, then who's going to? It's the same with any issue. It's the same with any issue worldwide of human rights abuses, child abuse, anything. I don't care. All of these issues. If we don't force people to be accountable, then who's going to? No, we have to. And it comes with a price, and it comes with a heavy price. But we have to do it. Make sure you get involved, whatever you do. Get involved and help somebody out, right? Have a great night, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.